miss out on a weekend of rivalry baseball. Grab your seats at Brewers.com/tickets.
You love and care for your parents, and now it may be time to help them move forward to a new lifestyle tailored to who they are today. Hi, this is Jean Nemelvitz from Bruce's team. The thought of sorting through years of memories and treasures can stop you in your tracks, but our team has all the services you'll need to make the process smooth and easy. Our team is ready to take you from overwhelmed to I can do this. Give us a call at 262-242-6177 or visit brucesteam.com.
Are you tired of being tired? Go to adventknows.com.
Breaking ball hammered out to left. Back goes Hampson at the track. Wall! Gone! Willie Adames!
A red wave of birds invade American Family Field. Our Brewers-Cardinals coverage begins tonight at 6:05 on your home of the Milwaukee Brewers. News Radio 620 WTMJ Milwaukee.
At 9:01, it's 51 degrees with some light drizzle. Showers today, highs in the mid-50s, down to 44 tonight. From the WTMJ Breaking News Center, I'm Adam Roberts. The search continues this morning for a critically missing teenager and her young daughter. Aurora Sandoval and her child Athena last in contact with a youth specialist May 6th near 44th and Townsend on Milwaukee's north side. For more information, you can text MISSING to the WTMJ talk and text line 855-616-1620. Paying up in Franklin, Rock Ventures has paid close to $1 million to the city one day after leaders had voted to take legal action against the company. Rock CEO Mike Zimmerman telling the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel he does still dispute the money owed. Franklin's council has also voted to set a maximum sound level at the Rock Sports Complex for Milwaukee Milkmen baseball games due to resident noise complaints. In New York, lawyers cross-examining Stormy Daniels, who's back on the witness stand today in former President Donald Trump's hush money trial. The former president speaking to reporters briefly on his way to the courtroom.
This is purely and simply election interference. There is no case. So that's the way it is, but here we sit after 2.5 weeks, and I think you'll see some very revealing things today.
Trump has vehemently denied all charges against him and has also denied ever having a relationship with Daniels. A major healthcare network with a Wisconsin footprint scrambling after detecting a cyber attack overnight. More from ABC's Ava Pilgrim.
Ascension reporting it detected unusual activity with some of its technology, forcing its systems offline. They've told their partners to disconnect while this is being investigated. So what does this mean for patients? There are reports that the charting, scheduling, and prescription systems are down, slowing down patient care. Some patients have been diverted to other hospitals for the time being, and they are looking into if any patient data was compromised.
Leaders with Ascension Wisconsin say access to some systems may be interrupted while staff work on the issue. And there are more than 500,000 Catholics in the Milwaukee area, but no matter what your faith, the Archbishop is inviting you to tonight's Blue Mass.
The Blue Mass at St. Joseph's Basilica is meant to appreciate our police and firefighters. Archbishop Jerome Listecki tells Wisconsin's Afternoon News it's an event very close to his heart.
I myself was a chaplain of the 327th Military Police out of O'Hare.
There is a red, white, and blue Mass every year. Red is for lawyers and judges. White is a tribute to doctors. And the Blue Mass set for 6:30 tonight is to pray for everyone on the front lines.
There is a sense of solidarity, knowing the type of courage that's displayed by those who serve.
Julia Fallow, WTMJ News.
Time for news about your money. The WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. Mixed bag this hour for the majors. The Dow's up 87 points to 39,143. While the S&P 500 up a little bit, 4 points to 5,192. The NASDAQ down this morning 15 points to 16,287. It's a great time for your retirement and investment strategy review from a fee-only fiduciary. Go to annexwealth.com and click on the Get Started button now. The Brewers look to get back on track as they open a 4-gamer against the Redbirds. We'll have that plus the roads and your 5-day forecast up next. Signing Unlimited, WTMJ News Times 9:04.
Celebrate National Police Week with 1017 The Truth. Tune in Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday evening, May 13th through the 17th, 6 o'clock p.m. for a series entitled Too Black, Too Blue. We dive into the history of policing, explore significant contributions of blacks in law enforcement, and don't miss our exclusive interviews with two very special guests on Thursday and Friday. Join us as we honor those who serve and protect, National Police Week, May 13th through the 18th. Catch us on our sister station, the award-winning 1017 The Truth.
Here's to sweet summer days together with friends and family in Wisconsin. To discovering magic in every moment.
Hey, Mom, over here.
And to reconnecting through a world filled with wonder.
Wow.
Here's to supper club celebrations and dancing until the sun goes down. Here's to those who Wisconsin. Plan your summer getaway at travelwisconsin.com.
It's Mother's Day weekend. Take care of that special lady. I mean, where would you be without your mom? WTMJ's John Mercure here. Treat your mom to a super affordable meal at the Amazing Mine Chef restaurant in Hartford, locally family-owned for over 46 years. Start today with a free pizza for your mom. Every Thursday, when you buy one pizza, you get a second pizza free. Yes, F-R-E-E free. So don't make your mom cook today. She'll love that free handmade pizza at the Mine Chef with plenty to take home tomorrow. I love the pepperoni. Order pizza today for your loyal employees. Call the Mine Chef now. Pick up your pizza shortly. I highly recommend taking your grandmother to the Mother's Day brunch buffet. It's all you care to eat. It's under $25. Kids and grandkids under 3 eat for free. The Mine Chef in beautiful downtown Hartford and just off the interstate in Oshkosh. Just walk in for your free pizza today. Reserve now for the Mother's Day brunch. It is a feast. Mine Chef Restaurant.com. It's the Amazing Mine Shaft.
Time for a WTMJ sports update from the Gruber Law Office's One Call That's All Sports Desk. The Brewers begin a 7-game homestand, starting with 4 against the Cardinals. Coverage tonight from American Family Field begins after the 6 o'clock news on WTMJ. Going over the roads, your WTMJ Johnson & Sons paving time-saver traffic. Some slow spots on the system. There are usual suspects as well. 94 east and west between about 84th and 27th Streets. Going to add a few extra minutes on your ride between the Zoo and the Marquette. Slow going through the 43 construction zone just south of Hampton down to about Keefe right now. And then 894 west through that construction zone. 27th Street all the way to Forest Home. It's going to be a bit slow. We're also dealing with some wet roads as rain falls. More on that in just a moment.
Traffic is sponsored by the all-new Burghardt Sporting Goods.
The all-new Burghardt Sporting Goods, the Midwest's best baseball and softball training facility and retail center in New Berlin and Fox Point.
The WTMJ 5-day forecast. Scattered showers moving through southeast Wisconsin right now. Some heavier bands around Walworth and Jefferson counties. The high of 55 today. It'll be breezy as well. Clearing and chilly tonight down to 43. 62 mostly sunny, then partly cloudy Friday with a chance for evening showers. Mid-60s on Saturday and partly cloudy. Mostly sunny early on Sunday, then rain showers late and 73. 67 and partly cloudy on Monday. Right now in Madison, rain and 52 and partly cloudy in Green Bay. Waukesha, some rain and 50, and in Milwaukee, rainy skies and 51 degrees. I'm Adam Roberts, citing Unlimited WTMJ News Times, 9:08.
Good morning, Wisconsin. So let's pour that coffee and talk to some experts about what's going on in Milwaukee, Madison, Washington, and beyond. Broadcasting live from the Annex Wealth Management Studios at the Avenue in beautiful downtown Milwaukee. It's the Political Power Hour on WTMJ. Here's your host, Steve Scaffidi.
Should we talk about the government?
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Thursday edition, a legal edition of the Political Power Hour. I am your host, Steve Scaffidi. We got some great guests, as always. Retired Milwaukee County Judge Mary Kuhnmensch. Good morning.
Good morning, Steve.
And local attorney Tom Kuzmanovich. Good morning to you as well.
Good morning.
All right, let's start. Florida. All of the experts I had on months ago said this was the case that was going to be easy to process. We're going to get this thing. The Mar-a-Lago documents case basically is how people refer to it. Judge Eileen Cannon?
Aileen Cannon.
Aileen, okay. She said Tuesday, indefinitely suspended. Define the term.
Well, I think that's how the media is interpreting it, but quite honestly, what she has done is taken it off the trial calendar. And her reasoning, as best I've been able to determine, is because she believes that there are just far too many significant pretrial issues in the form of motions that both sides have brought that require her to rule on them and that require her to schedule those for hearings if she has questions, not just decided on the briefs that the parties have submitted, but also to have hearings so she can ask additional questions, get clarification. None of that is wrong or showing any kind of preference for one side or the other. The judges do that all the time. They do it through what's called a scheduling order. And you can tell the difference between how Juan Marchand up in New York is handling it as opposed to the way that Aileen Cannon has done it in the district court down in Florida. And the difference is that he has such a busy docket that he has to be efficient. State court judges have trials stacked every week. They also have motions stacked. So what they do when they rely on, as Tom can tell you as a lawyer, they rely on this, a scheduling order. They know when motions have to be filed, when those motions will be heard, and then when the trial will be scheduled.
It sounds like from a layman's perspective, there's too much work, therefore I can't do the job that I'm supposed to be doing and paid for by the taxpayers.
It just seems to me there are 7 pending motions that she hasn't decided. And some of those motions aren't extraordinarily complicated. And it's almost like a paralysis. She doesn't seem to know what she wants to do with those motions. Part of it is she's had an extraordinary amount of turnover in her law clerks. And as those of us who practice in federal courts know that the judges rely heavily on their law clerks, and they're really bright people, students who just graduated from law school mostly, who are very, very bright, and they need to get up to speed. And in this case, they had to get some of them, I'm sure, had to get security clearances too. But she's had a lot of turnover, and that is very indicative of someone who's, to me, very disorganized, because in our federal district in Milwaukee and in the federal district in Madison, the judges are very, very efficient. The scheduling orders are very well-grounded and set, and it's really difficult to get – I mean, no one knows this is a complicated case in Florida, but it's very difficult to get relief from a scheduling order.
Is part of the problem that just so many documents that they have to preview and look at?
I don't think so, Steve. I think let me answer it this way. When you ask lawyers what makes a good judge, they will tell you at the top of their list are things like fair and impartial, smart, but also organized and decisive. In fact, the judges that get the worst marks every year in these published sort of polls that lawyers take, whether as a part of the bar or something else, they rank the judges who are indecisive or have reputations as being indecisive at the bottom of the list. Would you agree with that, Tom?
I do agree. And I do remember, for example, Judge Stadmiller here in the Eastern District, very smart judge, been a federal judge for a long time. In the beginning, he had a reputation for sitting on motions and not deciding them. But what's happened over the course of time is that's rapidly changed, and he makes decisions and sticks to a schedule and a deadline very, very well.
How much of this is not just turnover, as you alluded to or you talked about, but also the inexperience of the judge?
Oh, I think that's at the top of the list. In fact, I was, as I told you off the record earlier, Mary McCord is a former federal prosecutor, really highly experienced, well-respected on FISA motions, on top secret information that our government has, on some of the most important secrets that our government has on our behalf to keep us safe. And she was pressed 2 nights ago by reporters about whether or not this was just all due to her inefficiency or inexperience, or really something more nefarious like trying to weigh in favor of former President Trump. And she was very clear. She said, I don't think so. I think that this is really a very inexperienced judge with just 3.5 years of experience. And it's showing, and she is overwhelmed at this point and is almost throwing up her hands and waiting for the next rotation to occur, which probably in the federal courts, I think, occurs right around the same time as ours in August or September, and have it go to another judge.
We'll take a quick break here. Our guest, retired Milwaukee County Judge Mary Kuhnmensch, local attorney Tom Kuzmanovich. The legal edition of the Political Power Hour continues after this.
They had their time.
The Cardinals, the 2013, 2014, 2015 Central Division champions.
Now it's our time.
And the Brewers, for the third time in 6 years, are the National League Central Division champions. And the Brewers break out the brooms against the Birds. It's a sweep in St. Louis.
Brewers Cardinals. Our network coverage begins at 6:05 on your home of the Brewers, WTMJ.
Hey, this is WTMJ Steve Scaffidi here for Heiser Automotive. I love talking about Heiser. I told you we are trial testing a 2023 Chevy Equinox. My wife Kathy and I are going to buy one in a couple months. Wanted to see what it was about, all the bells and whistles, the great auto start-stop technology, 6-speed automatic transmission, gas miles. Look at this, 26 city, 31 highway. Just the right size, and that's the really important decision. They can match your needs in a vehicle to what they have on inventory, or you can certainly design the one you want the way you want it. 5 great locations. Heiser.com, you can see all their pre-owned and new vehicles. All their great programs, I've talked about them. Exclusive Safe and Sound program, vehicle exchange program, roadside assistance for life. Heiser's dedicated to making your process easy. That's why they're so good at customer service. That's why they say every day, today's your day.
At Uline, they know going the extra mile takes hard work. For companies pushing to go further, Uline will go the distance with you. 24/7, they answer the phone to get you the shipping and industrial supplies you need. Business can move fast. Unexpected large orders, adverse weather, new safety guidelines, and changing economic trends. Uline works hard keeping 41,000 items ready to ship, minimizing detours on your way to the extra mile. Visit uline.com.
Honoring those who dedicate their lives to keeping us safe, WTMJ and yours truly highlighting first responders who go above and beyond every day. I'm looking at the past year through my Salute to Service presented by Waterstone Bank and sponsored by Outdoor Living Unlimited. You can nominate your first responder right now through this Friday, so that's tomorrow, WTMJ.com. Click on the Salute to Service banner. You can see the Waterstone logo there. Or on the WTMJ mobile app, the nomination period closes tomorrow. Finalists recognized during Hero Week, May 20th through May 24th. Help me tell those stories. Got some great ones already. It's my Salute to Service presented by Waterstone Bank and sponsored by Outdoor Living Unlimited. We are talking with retired Milwaukee County Judge Mary Kuhnmensch, local attorney Tom Kuzmanovic. I'll start with you, Tom. You made a great point during the break. We are dealing with all this nonsense, all of these issues related about all these documents that Donald Trump accumulated during his tenure as president. What did you just tell me?
Well, this all could have been avoided had he just given them back.
Right.
And let the National Archives deal with it, which is what their job was and which is what they were requesting. I mean, there's all this whataboutism. Well, Biden had them. Well, yeah, he had them and he gave them back. And he let his house be searched, and Mike Pence the same thing. Yep. So, I just don't understand. It's about possession. He thinks because he possessed the documents that he owns them, and he doesn't. They're not his.
All right, so we have this case now suspended, or whatever term you want to use. Does the Supreme Court decision impact the scheduling of this? Are any of those questions they're considering, and who knows when they're going to come back and tell us what those decisions are, impact this scheduling or no?
No, I don't think so. In reality, what her decision has done, in one way, it's very bad, but in another, it actually clears the docket from now until the end of the year, arguably until January 20th, when a new president sits in office and has an inauguration. That clears the way for Judge Chutkan, depending on what the Supreme Court does at the end of June in their decision on immunity. And I'm still hopeful that they're going to find that on these facts there was no immunity to be had by the former president, and then sends it back down for the trial to begin, or at least a hearing to begin in Judge Chutkan's 3rd District Court. And in that regard, she has from then July to 6 months, and Jack Smith has already said he only needs 60 to 90 days to try this case. So it's still very possible that this case could, in fact, the January 6th case, go to trial and be completed before the election.
And a point I made to you before the show was just because the election's in November, there's a period, November to January, where all these things could still proceed.
That's absolutely true.
He's not sworn in yet if it's Donald Trump as president. If he loses the election, all these cases are just going to proceed in their normal fashion, I would assume.
I think so, too. The issue, especially for the documents case, is there's no scheduling order. Every court issues a scheduling order. These are the deadlines. This is the deadline you got to file a motion. These are the deadline you got to name witnesses. I mean, she set a trial date with no scheduling order, which is
unheard of.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, unheard of.
All right, we got a case going on. Actually, I'm watching the monitor. It's called, for lack of a better phrase, the Trump hush money trial. I guess my question to kind of start this conversation is, what is this case? We're hearing from Stormy Daniels, porn star. I think she's written a book. She's done a lot of different things, but that's not really what this case is about. Am I right on that or wrong?
You're absolutely correct. And it's just as salacious as the facts are and some of these unsavory characters from Stormy Daniels to Michael Cohen, the fact of the matter is that what it is at its core, and it just is relying on these witnesses that are sort of unsavory. These witnesses have to bring facts in that support the issue. But the issue is it's an election interference case. And that means that he was, the former president was attempting to hide information, bad information about his character himself from the public that they had a right to know. And he did that in a way, that's a misdemeanor. So it's election interference. Was he trying to hide a behavior that the public, who's going to want to decide whether he's worthy of being in the presidency, should know about those things? And the answer is yes. But the other part of it is, to make it a felony, he took some additional steps to then not only pay her off, but to do it in a way where he had to doctor or cook the books. And there's sufficient evidence out there in terms of evidence, we're talking paper evidence besides witness testimony. It's documents, it's exhibits. That's not as sexy or as glamorous as the testimony. But this case will ultimately, I don't know if Tom agrees, but I think the case will turn on those exhibits, which show that he marked things or classified them in a way that was intended to hide how he was using those funds. So that makes it a felony. So it is an election interference case and a cooking the books case, and it just happens to use these salacious facts to get that information in.
Tom, do you think it rises to the level of a felony?
Well, I think under New York law it does. The issue really is, okay, it's not illegal to pay somebody $130,000 to keep their mouth shut. It's not illegal at all. The illegality comes in.
Let me just ask. Yeah, I get that, but what if you're telling them to keep their mouth shut about a potential crime? Is that illegal?
Well, I don't know. That's a different question, I think, and I don't know what the answer to that is. But in this instance, people sign releases and non-disclosure agreements in exchange for money and confidentiality all the time. It's done in personal injury cases. Mm-hmm. You sign a release. Sometimes it's a non-disparagement agreement. Sometimes it's a confidentiality agreement in exchange to get the case settled and resolved. In this instance, what happened is the money was paid, and it was under the guise of legal fees when it wasn't legal fees. And those legal fees then were docketed in the Trump's books as legal fees, but they were truly payoffs.
I think I know the answer to this, but I want to ask both of you, and I get this a lot when we have our legal edition of the show. Can Trump pardon himself? It's actually two different answers for the different cases, correct?
In New York, he can't because it's a state crime.
And not a federal.
Right.
Yes.
That's correct.
But in the Florida case, he could essentially pardon himself for the document issue.
I think that's the same. I think 70 to 80% of the public would say, of course he can't. Just like they're saying that you can't have presidential immunity. And yet the Supreme Court has continued to surprise me, our U.S. Supreme Court, by even taking up the issue about, well, might there be partial immunity? I don't believe there is. I think they're making an issue where one exists. But so it's hard for me to decide whether or not our Supreme Court could even say, well, yeah, there's room for him to pardon himself. And for most Americans, they'd say, well, that's nonsense. Then anybody who runs for office can just, do whatever they want and pardon themselves and be done with it. And that just that defies logic, and it defies our spirit of our criminal justice system.
There's no way the Founding Fathers ever envisioned a president pardoning himself. No way.
Yeah, and I'll ask you this question after the break. What do you do when there's just the Constitution, which was written 200 plus years ago, and then all these things that are certainly modern and different and unexpected from the position of President of the United States? We'll explore that. We're going to get to the Supreme Court question as well. What are they thinking? What are they doing? What might they do? All of that coming up. Legal edition of Political Power Hour right here on WTMJ.
It's like playing baseball in the house.
Mom, Dad broke the window.
Without the risk of...
Again.
That. Every Thursday at 8:40, play virtual baseball on Wisconsin's Morning News. Step up to the virtual plate and test your mettle against the best.
Swing and a drive to right.
It's virtual baseball, presented by Signing Unlimited. Only played here on WTMJ.
Hey, this is WTMJ Steve Scaffidi for Annex Wealth Management. It's May, and inflation is still a problem. We know that. Add in market uncertainty, and you might be feeling a little uncertain as well. Plus, we've got a presidential election. We were just talking about that is shaping up to be quite a spectacle. Annex Wealth Management is a clear choice for today's environment where clear thinking combined with conflict-free advice is a must. An investment retirement plan built by the fee-only fiduciaries at Annex Wealth Management makes sense on so many levels. If knowing where you are and where you can go is important, then head to annexwealth.com and click the Get Started button. Plus, Annex isn't going to push commission products on you. Annex makes it convenient. They handle it every aspect of it: retirement, investment planning, tax planning, estate planning, one stop. 8 convenient locations, including a brand new office out there on 94. For in-person meetings or virtual meetings via Zoom, there's a significant difference between financial advisors. Work with a fee-only fiduciary. Know the difference. Start at annexwealth.com.
St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores seem to always have a great selection of women's summer clothing. Every year I check out their new selection and I can usually find great deals on a cute pair of shorts or capris or a pretty sundress. And they always seem to have a few tank tops I like too. Plus, buying gently used clothing is like recycling, so I help the environment. St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores on Highway 100 in Layton and Greenfield and 23rd and Lincoln in Milwaukee.
Ooh, you're gonna love it, St. Vincent de Paul.
From big tailgate parties to cozy dinners for two, the freshest ideas start with a stop at Century Foods. Now through Wednesday, save on 24-pack Essential Everyday Purified Water, 2 for $7. 8.2 to 20-ounce selected varieties CPAC Seafood, $6.99. 4.5 to 5.3-ounce selected varieties Chobani Flips Yogurts, 2 for $3. Gallon Prairie Farms White Milk, $3.99. Half gallon Prairie Farms Chocolate Milk, $2.49.
Hey, why'd you throw my glass across the room?
I have to keep practicing.
The vase from Aunt Sophie?
I'm warming up in case I get to take them out at American Family Field. Read this.
Win the ultimate baseball fan experience at Century Foods?
You either get to throw out the first pitch, hold the finish line for the famous racing sausages, or be on the field during batting practice. My new TV!
Just doing a little batting practice of my own.
The ultimate baseball fan experience. Return the entry form found in the weekly ad to any Century by July 24th.
News updates coming up at the bottom of the hour for you kids. That's 9:30. My guests, retired Milwaukee County Judge Mary Kuhnmensch and local attorney Tom Kuzmanovich. All right, Supreme Court is mulling over after hearing oral arguments, considering what to do with the question, really, immunity, presidential immunity. I need a quick take from both of you on that, and we'll circle back after the news. What do you think?
I think mulling is a great term here, Steve, because it includes a lot of things that they could be doing. I think I'll answer it this way. The fact is that I'm an optimist, and I am hopeful that because of the questions and because of some of the things that she's previously written, that Amy Coney Barrett is going to be a crucial vote, and she's going to vote with the women who I think are on the court.
Why do you think that?
Because of the questions that she has asked in prior cases. And in this case, one of the very first things, I never thought I would ever hear the word ridiculous come out of her mouth, but one of the things that she did when Trump's lawyer was making some arguments before her, she said, well, that's ridiculous. That would mean this. And I never thought I would hear Amy Coney Barrett say something like that, but that tells me that she's able to sift through some of the nonsensical arguments and get to the core of what needs to be decided here. I think she's going to be in favor of a more narrow approach to this and say that there may be some Article 2 behavior that is Article 2 of our Constitution that grants the president certain powers, that those things could be covered, but in no way under the facts of this case, I'm paraphrasing her, do the things that he's alleged to have done fall into that category. Let's just leave it at that. And I think if John Roberts wants to shift the legacy of this court, he will side with the women in this, and it'll be a 5-4 decision.
Tom?
My take is that I don't know, especially after listening to the oral arguments and the questions that were posed. The question that Amy Coney Barrett was exasperated about was the SEAL Team 6 killing a presidential opponent, which Trump's lawyer said, yeah, you can't prosecute him for that. Plus, he'd have to be impeached first. That just doesn't make any sense to me.
And in the current political environment, you probably wouldn't get impeached for that.
Well, but that was her way of saying where there are public acts that are covered possibly by some partial form of immunity, but there are private acts which she believes, given the question she asked, he was engaged in January 6th, that are no way covered.
All right, we got to leave it there. We'll pick it up after the break. We got the latest local news, and of course, an update from ABC. And think about these legal questions. Great phrase here that someone just spun on the text line. Justice delayed is justice denied. We'll talk about that in the context of all the things we're talking about today in the legal edition of Political Power Hour. Here's the latest from ABC.
ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. Stormy Daniels is testifying again right now in Donald Trump's hush money trial. The defense team continuing its cross-examination as a lot of those backing Donald Trump appear in the courtroom. ABC's Aaron Katursky has more from outside the courthouse in Lower Manhattan.
When she spoke about it on 60 Minutes with Anderson Cooper, he said, so this was consensual? She goes, oh, yeah. And even the suggestion that it might not have been drew objections from the defense. But they have to be careful on cross-examination. If they go too far into it, it risks bringing the jury right back into those questions and right back into that hotel suite that Stormy Daniels described so vividly.
President Biden telling CNN that U.S. will not send offensive weapons to Israel if they proceed with their planned widespread incursion into Rafah. Another wave of dangerous storms begins washing over parts of the South later on today. This is ABC News.
Citing Unlimited, WTMJ News Times 9:31. A pedestrian struck and killed by an Amtrak train Wednesday night near the Oak Creek Recycling Yard on West Putes Road. No one on the train was injured. Amtrak personnel are cooperating with police. TikTok today rolling out a feature alerting users to AI-generated content. The content credentials technology, similar to a nutrition label, will list the history of a piece of content. And the Hales Corners Village Market announcing cancellation of this summer's events. Organizers say the decision coming down to not having enough vendors for the whole season. Hales Corners restarted the market in 2023 after a 10-year hiatus. Time for news about your money, the WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. The NASDAQ has made some slight gains this hour, but they're still down 4 points to 16,298, while the Dow's up 175 to 39,228, and the S&P 500 up 10 to 5,199. Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite, financial planning at every level. Details at annexwealth.com. Checking the road through WTMJ Johnson & Sons Paving Time Saver Traffic. We've got an incident.
I-41 traffic in the southbound lane is blocked about a quarter mile north of Silver Spring with about 12 Sheriff's Department squad cars. Traffic is backed up for at least 2 miles southbound.
We got truck driver Charlie calling us on the Hall Mazda traffic tip line. Yeah, that incident on 41 right near Silver Spring. The 2 right lanes are blocked. A lot of squad cars on scene. Traffic is still flowing through. It is not a freeway closure, but there is an incident that we will look into right now to see what's going on over there. Just be aware of that if you're heading south on 41 near Silver Spring. The 2 right lanes blocked due to what is being called an incident. The WTMJ 5-day forecast, showers likely, breezy, a high of 55 today. Gradual clearing tonight and chilly down to 43. Mostly sunny, then evening showers Friday and 62. Partly cloudy Saturday, 63. 73 and mostly sunny on Sunday, then rain showers late, partly cloudy Monday, and a high of 67 degrees. Right now in Oconomowoc, we've got rain showers and 54. In Shorewood, rain and 52. And in Milwaukee, rainy conditions this hour and 50 degrees. I'm Adam Roberts, citing Unlimited WTMJ News Times 9:34.
This is Richard Salinas, registered nurse with Rejuvenex Arthritis Clinics, and I want to talk about exactly what we do. When you come here, you're going to get 2 shots with 2 very small needles. One will be a medication called Toradol, which is a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory, completely different from a standard steroid or cortisone injection. This medication is safe and a great pain reliever. The other will be hyaluronic acid, which is a naturally occurring fluid found in all of our joints. What hyaluronic acid does is it helps recoat the inside surfaces to provide cushioning and lubrication. It helps slow down the osteoarthritis process to a point where patients may not need surgery. All of this combined with using our state-of-the-art Ultra G machine developed by NASA has produced profound results. What we do works. And the best part about this is that insurance covers most of our patients' treatments.
Rejuvenex. Alleviate your
rejuvenex.com to request your free paint evaluation.
Hey, it's WTMJ Steve Scaffidi for the Bath Authority. If your bath or shower is old, outdated, has mold and mildew, or broken tiles, you gotta call my friends at the Bath Authority. The Bath Authority provides the highest quality bathroom remodeling products, along with a world-class, best-in-class customer experience. All Bath Authority products 100% made in the U.S. and can be installed in as little as 1 day by certified factory technicians. You're their priority at the Bath Authority, thebathauthority.com. A better bath awaits.
It started with a prediction.
Gonna go out there and play basketball and win.
And how many games?
6.
It became the culture.
Chance of Bucks in 6.
Being a Bucks fan means you live and breathe Bucks in 6. Brandon Jennings created the prophecy. Tune into Behind the Bucks, the story of Brandon Jennings on the Bucks Plus audio network. Behind the Bucks is presented by Gallagher, your trusted insurance broker and HR and benefits consultant. Available now on bucks.com/plus, the Bucks app, and streaming wherever you get your podcasts.
That's for the culture.
Second half hour coming up. Political Power Hour, Legal Edition. Our guest, retired Milwaukee County Judge Mary Kuhn-Mensch, and local attorney Tom Kuzmanovic, who want to make one more quick point about the Supreme Court. Now, I got a couple quick questions for both of you.
Sure. You know, the Supreme Court, the difficulty in predicting what they're going to do, and a lot of reasons is because they have what's called a shadow docket. And law professor Steve Vladeck wrote a book on it. It's an excellent book. For only the third time since 1971, in the first two cases, there were emergency applications. The first two cases were about COVID issues. The Supreme Court took a case on an emergency basis and still hasn't made a decision. And the emergency basis was relating to an EPA case, and it was argued in February, and the case was taken in September or October. And that was a supposed emergency, and they still haven't made the decision. So you don't know what the thinking is behind how the Supreme Court's going to act because of some of the things they do on this so-called shadow docket.
So let me give you my take. Again, layperson perspective. The Supreme Court justices, most of them don't care that these issues could necessarily have impact on the election. I think they're just going to process it the way they always do all of their cases. Am I wrong on that?
No, I don't think you are. I think they are. In this case, they have said that they took it in April. They heard arguments, and they have until the end of June to issue their
That's
decision.
only because they're going on summer vacation.
Well, because it's the end of the docket.
If it was an emergency, they would have done it already, and they already released their results.
Absolutely, Steve. No doubt about it. If they had wanted to, they could have. It isn't that complicated. I think I've talked about this before. I'll just simply say this, that sometimes less is more. And what I mean by that is judges are confronted with issues, multiple issues in cases. You don't have to decide all of them. You have to decide the critical one that the case really hinges on. In this case, it's immunity. All these other issues, are there other is there partial immunity? Could we carve something out for him? None of that is relevant to the ultimate decision here, which is, given the facts that are in the complaint, in this case about January 6th, does he have immunity for that otherwise described criminal behavior? The answer is simple: no, he does not. Even 70% of the public knows that. So the issue that I'm having is, are they going to look at this in a very broad way, or are they going to do what I think they should do, is narrow it down to that simple issue? I think Amy Coney Barrett is willing to do that and side with the remaining women justices, and it really hinges on what John Roberts, our Chief Justice, is going to do. He's thrown mixed signals, so I'm a little worried. If he does the right thing, it's going to end up being a 5-4 decision that he has no immunity in this case.
I disagree with Mary on the fact that the judges are not looking at this through a political prism. All I got to do is look at Justice Thomas and his wife's role in January 6th and supporting the January 6th insurrection. You can't tell me that has zero effect on how he's going to be. That's his wife. How is he not taking those things into consideration?
All that being said, he's not recusing himself.
No, he's not, and that's another...
But that's a separate issue, Tom, altogether. That's a recusal issue. Should he have recused himself? I wouldn't disagree with you. I think absolutely, because it's just the appearance of impropriety. But that's a separate issue. They're getting at the politics of it by looking at this issue broadly as opposed to narrowly. That's how both Alito's questions and Thomas's questions and Gorsuch's questions were all about, followed by Kavanaugh. How can we find a way, a path for Donald Trump to get immunity by answering all these other questions that aren't even really before them?
Well, I think that's a political decision, not a judicial decision, because otherwise the question is simply answered. He doesn't have immunity for these kind of things.
Let me just wrap it, and then we're going to go to break with this question. if they give him or the next president or all the ones after that qualified immunity or whatever the legal term is for everything other than killing somebody on the main street of whatever town you're in, does Trump basically, or any president thereafter, have the right to do all the things that Donald Trump has been accused of doing? I would think so, yes.
Theoretically, this would enable Joe Biden to do what Trump did. And, of course, Joe Biden's not going to do that because it's just simply not in his nature. But theoretically, it could end up like that. And I think that's a very, very dangerous path because the rule of law has to be followed, not the rule of one individual.
And I think I think Donald Trump has shown his cards from the very beginning, all leading up to even 2016's election, where he publicly stated, I could shoot somebody and kill them in the middle of Fifth Avenue, and my voters, my people would not hold me accountable. I don't know what he's saying that he can get away with murder and that his followers don't believe in the rule of law and they'd allow him to. If I'm one of his followers, I would take that as an insult.
Retired Milwaukee County Judge Mary Kuhnmensch, local attorney Tom Kuzmanovich. After the break, are there some legal questions wrapped around the college protests, campus protests, including, do you have a right to camp? Which is not something I ever thought I would ask on my show, but here we are. A quick break, Political Power Hour.
At Blaine's Farm and Fleet, we get you outdoors because we get you. When it's time to get out and cultivate your ideal yard, we get you the right products at the right prices. Like 40-pound bags of Scott's Thicker Lawn Sun and Shade Grass Seed Mix, $64.99. Assorted bags of Scott's Naturescapes Mulch, 3 for $15. Save an extra $2 a bag by mail-in rebate. Plus, come test drive our huge selection of mowers and lawn equipment during this Saturday's Ride and Drive event, starting at 9 a.m. at Blaine's Farm and Fleet.
Hey, this is WTMJ Steve Scaffidi for Badger Fence. When we were looking for a fence, we chose Badger Fence. Our beautiful cedar fence installed about 5 years ago now. The company I trusted, Badger Fence, installing high-quality, durable fences since 1945. Proud member of the Better Business Bureau, A-plus rating, as well as a member of the National Association of the Remodeling Industry. Privacy, security, wide choice of fence styles, all great reasons for choosing Badger Fence. They're the right company, licensed, bonded, insured, use the best materials. 76 years of experience. That matters. Whether you want wood, which is what we chose, ornamental, chain link, PVC, they can help you choose the right materials for your project. And when it comes to quality, unmatched in the industry and at the most competitive prices. We love our new wood fence. My wife, Kath, and I, when we were shopping around, we chose Badger Fence. You should, too. To set up an appointment to talk with Badger Fence about your project, simple. Go to badgerfence.com. Badgerfence.com. Tell them Scaffidi from WTMJ sent you.
Hey, WTMJ's John Burke here. Join us July 22nd through the 28th for the world's greatest aviation celebration. Enjoy a week featuring thousands of aircraft and see the legendary Canadian Forces Snowbirds who will be in attendance this year. EAA AirVenture Oshkosh is happy to offer free youth admission for those 18 and under, supported in part by the Boeing Company. Bring the whole family. EAA AirVenture Oshkosh, July 22nd through the 28th. For more information and to buy tickets, visit airventure.org.
There's a reason people sold to Grandview Homes instead of using a real estate agent.
Not only did we receive a fair offer, but we were able to take as much time as we needed and could leave the house a mess.
Visit GrandviewHomes.com to discover the easiest and fastest way to sell a home.
Heart disease won't stop us. Diabetes won't slow us down. Allergies, high blood pressure, shoulder pain, cancer. Nothing will keep us from pushing Wisconsin ahead. Because with the Freighter and the Medical College of Wisconsin Health Network, forward progress is what we stand for. That means always pushing and always innovating. With new technologies and breakthrough treatments that make life better, whether we're sick or well. It means providing more convenience and more ways to receive medical excellence for all your health needs, for big and small. It means being there for you, our family, caring for yours. So let's keep raising the bar. Let's keep testing the limits of what medicine can do. Let's push ahead and make life here as great as it can be. Visit Freighter.com to find out how.
Thanks for taking the time to find us. Political Power Hour is the show. I am Steve Scaffidi, your host, and we have great guests today, as always. On the legal edition of Political Power Hour, retired Milwaukee County Judge Mary Kuhnmensch, local attorney Tom Kuzmanovich. What's your law firm again?
Hinshaw & Culbertson.
Yes. All right. We've all been watching the news. Campus protests everywhere. Varying degrees of violence. Columbia, very violent, took over a building, destroyed property. We've seen some of that. Wisconsin, UW, and UW-Milwaukee, fairly calm, although there was some incidents last week at Madison where they sort of took down the encampments, and then now they're all back up again. Tom, from your perspective as an attorney, are there legal questions here swirling around? Like, do you have a right to camp on a public campus? What rights do the students have here?
Well, you've obviously got the right to assemble freely and to protest. Those are constitutionally protected.
Not on private campuses, though, right?
Well, not on private campuses.
Okay.
But I think the question really begets, are these just a bunch of anti-Semites, or are these actual people who have grievances and issues? And I think that the simple knee-jerk reaction, especially from a couple of our local congressmen, have been that these are just anti-Semites. And even most Jews would agree that peacefully protesting against something like what's going on in Gaza is not anti-Semitic, because 30,000 civilians being killed by indiscriminate bombing isn't anti-Semitic. What the issue really is, and it's a complex issue, is the rights of the Palestinian people to a free country, the Israeli right to self-defense and Hamas's criminal activity, which is clearly criminal, and Hamas is a criminal organization. And how do you balance those two things? How do you balance the ability of the Palestinians to have a two-state solution with Israel with Hamas's intent on destroying Israel? And that's really what's getting lost in all of these protests. Obviously, nobody wants civilians to be killed. What happened on October 7th was a crime, a horrible crime. And in response, what's happening to some extent is also could be considered a crime. You can't just indiscriminately bomb civilians.
So you've served in international law. Is this ultimately decided in a courtroom somewhere or on the battlefield in a war zone?
It never will be decided in a courtroom. First of all, Israel is not a party to the International Criminal Court, and Israel has also said that it would prosecute anybody who assists the International Criminal Court in investigating what's going on in Gaza in terms of the bombing. The other issue is that we had a handful of U.S. senators, I think, write a letter to say, look, if you, ICC, do anything against Israel, we're going to prevent you from coming to the U.S. We're going to put you on the terrorist watch list for supporting Hamas. I mean, it was just a ridiculous overreaction. The question is, how do you enforce the rule of law in a situation in which clearly Hamas committed a crime? How are you going to prosecute them? You can't. And how are you going to clean up the issue of why are you bombing indiscriminately or purportedly indiscriminately and killing so many civilians? All you have to do is look on your TV screen and see Gaza's almost completely leveled.
Yeah. Well, let me take a different tact than what Tom has talked about, and that is to your original question about what's happening on college campuses. I have a couple of issues with it. First of all, can they camp? No, even on public campuses, because many of these individuals are not even students. A lot of them that have been arrested.
29% of the arrests at Columbia University, non-students.
That's correct. That's a huge percentage. Mm-hmm. In addition, even students who would have the right to protest and be on a campus and do that, and that's a legitimate use of our higher educational facilities that are publicly paid for, because it's an exercise of freedom of assembly, freedom of speech. But you don't have the right, again, we have lots of rights under the Constitution, but we also have a lot of responsibilities. You cannot interfere with the rights of others, and that is you can't act in a way, whether it's by camping, whether it's by chanting things like that are akin to, calling out fire in a crowded theater, or saying things that are clearly anti-Semitic, or cause students who are legitimately there and for an education, and their parents who are paying for that education, that they don't want to go to class, they don't want to come on campus because they're fearful. That's not an appropriate use of those campuses. In addition, many of them are making arguments that are just simply intellectually dishonest. And by that I mean, Steve, that they have a woeful lack of knowledge of history.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
In terms of what's been happened since 1948 to today. And that's because these kids get their news and information from TikTok and social media, which is by definition propaganda.
And the latest development on this story, which is not legal, but it's just frustrating, some professors at some institutions say, because of this situation, I'm giving you all A's.
That's ridiculous.
Why even have a professor? Why have a class?
It's ridiculous.
Those are faculty that are also
You've abdicated your job.
Correct.
I mean, come on.
And they ought to be dealt with immediately and quickly by removing them from their teaching positions.
The people I feel the worst for are the students who may have a concern and aren't out there on the street, so to speak. Some of these students can't even go to walk through graduation. Right. I mean, it's terrible. I don't agree with the camping. I think that's wrong. You are able to peacefully protest. There are two different sides to every story, and you have a right to express yourself. But to intrude on the rights of others, especially those third parties who just want to graduate.
Let's harken back to the early 70s, where on Madison's campus, where there were peaceful demonstrations about the Vietnam War, they became decidedly unpeaceful by non-students, the Weathermen, blowing up Sterling Hall, killing a professor who was in that building. Would anybody agree that that was appropriate? Absolutely not. Any more than people would agree that the National Guard on Kent State University should have been firing indiscriminately into students and killing several of them. So we can look back in history and see examples of bad behavior on both sides.
Final thoughts from our legal experts after this in a political power hour on WTMJ.
Be our eyes on the road. See something out there that I should know about?
I-94, eastbound. A semi just came to a screeching stop in the center lane. I think he's broken down right there.
Call me, Debbie Loziga, at the Hall Volkswagen Traffic Tip Line at 414-238-9329.
On southbound I-94, right around Drexel Avenue, there's a wreck in the left lane, and the left lane is blocked.
The drive affects you. Why not be part of it? Give me a call, 414-238-9329.
Hey, this is WTMJ Steve Scaffidi for Advent. I had snoring issues, tossing and turning, restless nights of sleep. Probably woke up a lot more than I realized. All that poor sleep could lead to sometimes, I'll admit it, tired mornings on the radio. I did something about it. I went to one of their great facilities, quick 30-minute visit. They put me at ease. They diagnosed my problem. Now, everybody's different problems, different solutions. Mine was my sinuses and nasal passages. Took care of that. Short procedure done in office. Back to breathing better than ever. My wife and I sleeping through the whole night. Another uninterrupted night of sleep last night. Love that. If you struggle like I did, we did, really, take the time to see how Advent can help you. To find out how breathing well and sleeping well can make your nights better, go to adventknows.com and schedule an appointment today, because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better.
Travel deliciously to Milwaukee, Chicago, or around the world. This is Teresa with Milwaukee Food and City Tours. Listen this Saturday at noon to hear about our next adventure, or join a tour at MilwaukeeFoodTours.com.
Dan, do you know there's a way to fit more in your closet without spring cleaning?
Of course. You just close the door really fast.
No, you call us at Inspired Closets. Depending on your space, we can easily double your storage.
Won't people think that's expensive?
Not with us. Other closet companies over-design projects, driving up the cost. Inspired Closets gives clients 3 designs, allowing us to find the price point they are comfortable with.
And our true lifetime warranty. Visit us at InspiredClosetsMilwaukee.com.
A wife and husband team.
Accunet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 255368.
One of the best things about being in business for 25 years is having clients recommend Accunet to their now adult children for help buying their first homes. That's how I connected with Dan and Allison, and let me tell you, they were fast learners. They quickly embraced our most powerful tool for winning offers, Appraisal Wiggle Room. Their first offer was $15,000 over asking and included a provision which Accunet guaranteed they could afford to make, that they would still pay the higher offer price even if the appraised value came in up to $15,000 short. The result? Accepted offer versus several others on the very first try. And by the way, if the appraisal had come in $15,000 short, which it did not, Dan and Allison would have needed exactly $0 extra dollars at the closing table. If you think all mortgage lenders are the same, think again. Go with a multi-generation mortgage lender that has the tools and know-how to help you win. Click on the blue button today at accunet.com.
WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee from the Annex Wealth Management Studios. This is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station.
I love all the hours, but this is starting to be one of my favorites because we always have really smart people on this legal edition. We got Tom Kuzmanovich, local attorney from law firm
Hinshaw & Culbertson.
Yes. And that's not a paid sponsorship. I just want to give the credit where it's due because they have you as on their staff. All right, Mary Kuhnmensch, retired Milwaukee County judge, who's still actively working cases, apparently.
Apparently, still on the bench.
You're not retired.
Not retired.
What is that about? You're supposed to retire and then not work.
I enjoy it when they need somebody to come back, and they rely on retired judges to do that, and I just haven't learned to say no.
Well, good on you for doing that. All right, I don't often end the show this way, but I want to give each of you 1 minute final thoughts about the things we've talked about and what we might be expecting on any of these important cases.
Sure. I wanted to go back to Gaza for a second because international law is an important thing that we all need to be aware of. I was involved in a trial in which my client was accused of indiscriminately shelling via artillery civilians. There was not one single shred of evidence that any civilian was actually killed by artillery fire. And my client was still indicted for this at the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia. And we won on appeal that case. When you look at that and you compare what's going on in Gaza, where there are 30,000 civilians who have been killed by by the bombing that's been going on there, you kind of scratch your head and wonder, how can somebody be held accountable for doing this? So from my perspective, there needs to be an assessment of why these weapons are used, in what instances can and can't they be used, and for all intents and purposes, even though Hamas is a criminal organization and they embed themselves among civilian targets, that's not an excuse to bomb civilians.
Indiscriminately bomb.
Correct.
And once again, the United States, being the international leader that we are, is taking the high road. President Biden, if I'm not mistaken, has said that we'll give you defensive weaponry, but until you can guarantee us and show us some evidence that you're not going to be using our weapons that we're giving you in an offensive manner that targets innocent civilians indiscriminately, we are going to hold back. And he's not the first president to have done that. My understanding is that Ronald Reagan did it in his term of office as well.
And he did it to Israel.
Yeah, and
the resolution that Congress passed or that funding, the language is not specific. The president has that discretion.
And which,
my understanding.
And that gets, we have moral authority, and I'd like to think that our country still stands for that. That we're not perfect. We're far from it. But boy, oh boy, when push comes to shove, as long as we have a decent human being in the White House, they do have moral authority, and in this case, they're exercising it appropriately.
Retired Milwaukee County Judge Mary Kuhnmensch, attorney Tom Kuzmanovich, wonderful show. We'll do it again. We'll reconvene, different formats, different groupings in a couple weeks. All right, the news is next. WTMJ.
Another MVP has joined the roster at Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. Dr. Ryan Stefanchek. Board certified in sports medicine, physical medicine, and rehabilitation, Dr. Stefanchek specializes in non-operative treatment of the spine, chronic pain, all joints, all musculoskeletal problems, and more, emphasizing holistic care first, with a focus on diet, sleep, stress management, and social connections for a patient's well-being. At Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin, there is a difference.
Hey, this is WTMJ Steve Scaffidi for Adair. A-D-A-I-R, Floors and Remodeling, South 27th Street in Franklin. Been in business for 65 years. They did my kitchen floor 20 years ago. Still looks great. They just did their design team, and my wife Kathy and I worked together on a flooring project at my house. It looks fantastic. I shared some of those pictures on social media. Home or business, family owned and operated, those things matter, right? Right there in Franklin, South 27th Street. Stop in today or visit them online at ADAIRfloors.com.
Visit family-owned Ken Michaels Furniture and our in-store